Tens of thousands of fly-in, fly-out workers keep Australia's mines humming, and their numbers will rise dramatically as billions of dollars are invested in new projects. In Queensland, one new mine with 100% non-resident workforce has been given the go-ahead. But some think the nomadic workers are bad for regional communities and people. John Taylor reports.
Mining. Digging and selling Australia's resource riches is a multi-billion-dollar pillar of the economy. A recent industry report suggests Queensland is primed for even more activity. If things go to plan, the state is set for a decade of opportunity.
There are about 66 projects on the books at various stages of development, which involve an investment of $142 billion and will require additional workforce just directly in those projects of about 40,000 people.
For all the huge returns and high wages, mining employs fewer people than you might think. In Queensland a decade ago, fewer than 20,000. But driven by good prices and surging demand, employment now stands at 60,000. And for the coming decade, add on an extra 40,000. And it's very unlikely those workers will live anywhere near where resources are being extracted.
While it's overwhelmingly a residential workforce now, what the companies are telling us is that perhaps 3/4 of the additional workers may have to be non-resident workers, either driving in, driving out, flying in, flying out.
In the Bowen Basin, the heart of Queensland coal mining, the proportion of non-resident to local workers is expected to go from less than a third to nearly half. And in the nearby Galilee Basin, the last remaining major coal province to be developed in Queensland, anecdotally the industry believes outsiders could account for 95% of the operating workforce. But flying in and out workforces, even to often remote mines, arouses passions. Early next year, a federal parliament inquiry will host half a dozen public hearings about the costs and benefits of non-resident workforces.
It is very hard to see what other benefits there are other than economic benefits for those who do it and economic benefits for the companies and the government.
Why is that?
Because the downside to non-resident workforces is considerable.
There you go.
In just a few hours, Boilermaker Daryl Piper will go to work, but it will take him 6 hours by car and plane. He lives in Brisbane, but works in central Queensland.
So they call it a lifestyle roster, and I go back for 5 days this time, and I have 4 days off, and I work for 5 days again. Then I have 5 days off, 4 days on, 5 off, and it rotates through like that.
It's almost like you're living two separate lives and then you have to come together and make it work for a short amount of time.
The couple has lived in a mining town and loved it, but they made the change to flying in and out of Brisbane for the flexibility.
Well, you know, for Daryl to have those days off, because Lachlan has a disability, so I need that time. If Daryl worked in Brisbane, I would see him less probably. It's a good job. There's no comeback on Daryl if he says, look, I need to take a month off. It's a great company. They say, no worries.
They're the pros for the job. The pros are that it's a bigger company and understanding bosses.
It's not just people who are seeking the flexibility that fly-in, fly-out offers. The Gold Coast wants a piece of the action.
We've got an issue at the moment where we are facilitating a discussion between the Gold Coast Airport at Coolangatta with a private sector organisation who are looking to have a dedicated fly-in, fly-out terminal at Terminal 2 at Coolangatta to provide a very high quality service to mining companies who want to facilitate a fly-in, fly-out workforce from the Gold Coast.
For this city by the beach, it's an opportunity to ease the reliance on tourism and construction.
The Gold Coast at the moment has about 22,000 people unemployed, and so we'll always be looking to find opportunities for those unemployed people to find work.
The mining industry believes a commuting workforce has a chance to spread the benefits of the boom.
Well, I think it is very much a case of the workers can dictate their terms at the moment in the resources industry. So our biggest coal miner, BMA, has 1,000 vacancies they simply can't fill. So if you keep trying the same old model of trying to recruit locally and having people live locally and you have 1,000 vacancies, well, maybe you'll start thinking about some other models, and that's why BMA, for example, with one of their new mines, decided to go to a 100% fly-in, fly-out model.
But in her Brisbane office, mining researcher Professor Kerry Carrington says globally companies and governments are pushing fly-in, fly-out, not workers.
Well, where's their evidence for making that claim? I haven't seen any research that backs that up, and the only research that we have, with the research we have done, flatly contradicts it. What most workers will say is they want a choice. And for some, it does suit them in their lifestyle, but for the majority, it doesn't suit them, and they say they only do it because they don't have a choice.
And no choice, she says, is just one of many downsides.
And they include, for communities, erosion of infrastructure lag, soaring housing costs, undermining of community stability. There's drain on basic sanitation infrastructure. Do you want me to keep going? Because that's just some of them.
I think Professor Carrington's methodology leaves a lot to be desired, but we're always happy to have the debate.
The battle lines are clearly being drawn in submissions to the federal parliamentary inquiry. But for now, fly-in, fly-out's rise is going hand in hand with the booming resources sector.
It's not about taking a massive share of the mining industry's boom, but just having some additional work for local workers and local resources to assist with our diversification.
You say goodbye to Sharon, you say goodbye to your boys sort of thing, and you go to work and he's asking when you're coming home as you're leaving a thing, or I'm going to the different home. So yeah, it's a bit hard, so you've got to switch off sort of thing sometimes to make it work.
John Taylor with that report.